Alright, in this video we want to graph this radical function, and then after we graph it we're going to find the domain and the range. So let's just do a rough sketch first actually before we graph the exact graph. So because we are adding on the outside over here, we know that from our original 0, 0 point right here, we're going to have to shift up at a starting point, or for a starting point. And then because we're subtracting under the radical, we know that we're going to shift to the right. So we go up 2 over this way, and that's going to be our actual starting point. Now, normally our radical function would curve kind of up like that, but it's not in this case. Because we have a negative right there in front of our radical, we're actually going to curve down into the right. Okay, so my starting point was right there. Now we're going to curve down in towards this way, and that's what our graph is going to generally look like. So to figure out if I was right, I'll plot all my points, and I picked all the x values right here for my table, because if you plug in each one of these x values, they'll give us solid whole numbers for our y values. So that's the only reason I picked these out. So let's plot all these points. So I've got 1, 2, so over 1 up 2. So that was our starting point. That was correct. We got 2, 1. So we plot that. So already we're a little bit off, but we're at least going in the right direction. We've got 5, 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. We've got 10, -1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then down 1. And then we've got 17, which is all the way, if you count all these little check marks here, we've got to go this far and then down 2. And that's our last point. So actually, we predicted correctly. Our radical function continues down like this, but it wasn't as steep as we predicted, but this black line will be the accurate one. So I'm going to get rid of that guess. Whoops. I'm going to get rid of. Okay, so we want to come up with our domain and range now. So the domain is going to relate to our the range of our x values, basically. So how far can we go to our left? So what's my lowest possible x value? And we can move all the way to the left until we get to x equals +1. So that's going to be the farthest to the left for my domain. 1 will count, so we put a bracket around it. If it didn't count, we'd put a parentheses. And then what's the farthest x value going to my right? Well, it continues on forever to the right towards infinity. So that's what we put there. And then parentheses, because we always put parentheses with infinity. Now, for our range, what's our lowest value for y? So how far down can my y values go? And if you continue to put in x values right here, you notice that our y values would continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So that means our lowest y value will be -infinity, because it'll never stop. So that goes there with parentheses, comma, and then what's the highest y value possible for this radical function? And that's going to be y equals 2. Right here it stops. It's not going to go any higher than that. So I'm going to put a 2 there, and 2 is included, so we use brackets. So that's basically how you would find the domain and range and come up with a rough sketch for a radical function.